Okay, hopefully this mic is working. So, hello everyone. Today, a lot of people get confused with all these different types of swords that were created. And I know a little bit more than the average person about them. So, I thought that I could explain them a little bit. Sorry, I'm adjusting the camera. Move it up just a little bit. Because I don't want to reveal my identity. Got to grab the sword. Okay. So I got in the attire today. We're in the boots. We got the sheath. Is this still straight? Yeah. Actually, I'll just... Okay, so... First up on the list is the longsword, which we have right here. Now, I have not recreated all of them, and plus these are kind of amateur. These are definitely not perfect, but this is the best representation of a longsword that we have in this household. Okay, a longsword, let's see. Now, most of these all trace back to Europe, at least. The longsword you can find German longswords, but it was mainly Okay, I think the light's fixed. It was flickering. But it mainly traces back to the English. The longsword was basically an all-around weapon. Now, if I went to the blacksmith with a bunch of money, because back then longswords were worth a pretty penny, because they were a lot of metal and took a lot of time to make. Well, they were actually a little more simpler to make because I make them, but so if I went to the blacksmith and said, "Hey blacksmith, I just need a sword, just like a basic sword," he would hand you this, the long sword. It was pretty good at thrusting. I think the search said that it was 55 inches for like war blades. If you didn't have a shield or a parrying dagger, nothing to wield in your other hand, and you'd usually hold it in two hands. It always had enough for two hands, but you were also able to wield it in one hand. Now, just to be fair, I might get some stuff wrong in this video. Pretty good at slashing. They're pretty much just decent. They were a good sword. Very agile. They were not that heavy. German longswords, I've heard that they are a little taller. No, a little heavier. But that's the Germans. We're English here, guys. We got freedom units. I can't even remember any, measurements right now. Yeah, I'm able to whip it around very nicely. It just works good. Good. Yeah. I forgot to put the gloves on. That's cool. Okay, no biggie. We got the gloves on. It was also very good at thrusting. So you could put your whole body structure into it. You could also do it in one hand. It goes off camera, but you get the point. Now I'll use the long sword. This was modeled after an English longsword. It was just in my head. There's no. But it will not be the same. So if I'm talking about the rapier, I haven't recreated that in real life yet, so I'll still use this just to represent. Okay. Short sword. It, literally, just imagine this. But I think you could only use it in one hand. So take like a bunch of this off, and it was shorter, but not like this short. Like maybe that. Maybe a little bit more. So probably the way they named stuff in medieval times was just crazy. Hey, man, I'm having a hard time naming this sword that I just newly created. Do you think you could help me? Yeah, sure, man. Hand it over. Man, this is a pretty short sword you got here. They both simultaneously. Oh gosh. No. No. Camera. The camera. Okay. Next we'll talk about the Great Sword. Okay, the Great Sword, this is not a Great Sword. Now a very big misconception, like a very great misconception, see what I did there, about the Great Sword, was that this big, heavy sword, oh gosh, I hit the ceiling. Forgot that there was a ceiling. Heavy thing that took you like 20 minutes to recover, but can absolutely decimate your opponent. It was very slow, but also very strong. Could kill your opponent, like, it could be twice the size of you. No. Like, just no. In reality, a great sword was pretty agile, but it wasn't like you could just dual wield them either, like short swords. That would take a lot of time. You had to use two hands for a great sword, but it was very agile. Like, I could whip it around. Here, I'll turn around and then... Like, I could do that. Hopefully you saw that. Like, you were able to whip it around. It was mainly meant for bodyguards, which were meant to protect. They weren't meant to come over to the opponent and slash him, but that they were used in battle. There were things like the Zweihander, which was a great sword. It was meant so your enemies would have spears out. It was meant to chop through all of those. So it was very big. It had like a little spike here, like a little extra crossguard. Pretty prominent crossguard. It was like probably taller than me. I'm like 5'10". So yeah, that's a great sword for you. If you guys have any questions in the comments about swords or anything, feel free to ask away. I'm not editing this video. A claymore. I modeled this sword out of a claymore, but I made the blade profile too slim. It was claymores were almost like, instead of Scotland having long swords, they had claymores. So you had to two-hand them. They were heavy enough and to unalive your opponent in one hit, and you can still do pretty decent slashing motions, but it was also agile enough to perform a thrust, which was one of the most lethal things in a sword fight. Yeah, that's basically just it. So, let me think of another one. A saber, probably European. If you went to the blacksmith and asked, "Can I just have a fast, whippy blade?" you would be getting a saber. So, instead of having a crossguard that's just a cross like this one, they would have, it's almost like a big hand protector right here. It would curve out, big block right here, and it would almost go through your hand. Now, in HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts, you're not really going around like this like you would with a longsword. You're kind of almost taking a punch and instead making it longer range. So I would punch towards you with a saber. And also they're very fast, agile, and they were curved. So I'd be able to whip. It's faster than that, but whip. I can go like this, but up there. This to defend myself, very fast. Now, when a blade is curved, you have to understand that you almost couldn't stab with it if it was too curved. And the more curved it is, the better it is for slashing. So, yeah. That's a rundown of the saber. Instead of doing this, and it was only a one-handed weapon, you'd kind of punch. And it would take that punch in it and make the range longer. Okay, now if I went to the blacksmith again and asked for, "Hey, can I have a weapon that's like the saber, but it's like straight and mainly only for thrusting?" I would get a rapier. What's that for, man? So you can still do big slashing motions, and the rapier was mainly one hand, but that would be kind of weird, and it was really light. The saber and the rapier are both really light weapons that weren't like the short sword where they're short. You get what I'm saying? So they had a thinner blade, and like a long sword, maybe I could get through armor. It's not built to, armor's built to withstand this. So you have to find a little crevice. But mainly they were used for sword duels. So rapiers, they would be finding that little spot. You notice how in video games, it's this long pole, but it should be able to still, like I can still, give my opponent whiplash. Just like, what the heck am I doing? It's like, whack 'em, you know? But it was mainly meant for thrusting. So for armor, or let's say it's just an armorless duel, mainly it was used in one hand, but I guess you could use it in two. But you can still parry and then post. Not post, but poke. So I'd be like, and then dodging and doing that, something like that. So that's a rapier. Let's see what other things I could do. Oh, katana. So this sword is not actually European, it is Japanese. So, you know, it was basically the long sword of the East. Just it wasn't really built like a long sword. It was pretty curved, is actually curved, and you could use it in two-hand. I think it was almost only two-hand, but I feel like you could somehow use it informally in one hand. It didn't have a big prominent straight crossguard. It had a little round thing going around the blade. Much more decorative, I will say. It had like elaborate things going on here at the handle. Couldn't thrust, of course. It was meant more for slashing, so it's better than slashing. It's a little shorter than the longsword. Now these are not swords, but they are still European. Spear. It's a big pokey stick with it's a big stick with pointy metal on the end. Just a big spearhead. The main advantage of the spear was whoever had more reach was more guaranteed to win. So no matter how good I am with the longsword, if you have a longer spear than me, I'm unalived, alright? I could dodge it. I could try to dodge it or parry it, but they're also used more with shields, and so you would be behind the shield and you would poke, you know? Because but you could like hold it like this. Let me get this axe here. I split wood, so you could also hold it like this to protect against swords, but halberds, like an axe and a spear had a child. So imagine a spear. Now take a nice elaborate, it's not just a straight axe blade, it's kind of curved and it has another point. It comes up to it would come up to a point. It was a little more like, it reminds me of a rhombus almost. But yeah, you could, now I think the thought process was, with a spear, you can hit somebody when you do it like that, but with a halberd, if you're far enough away, you can still slash them. And also it would do more damage, like it would tear out your guts when you stabbed through them, and then it spills out all the stuff, takes all the stuff outside that should be inside, you know? Yeah, basically the same setup, just it had, yeah, I'm not editing this. A poleaxe, not to be mistaken with a halberd. Now, it takes that same thought. What if the axe and a spear had a baby, but takes it more straightforward? So, spear with axe head on it. Or it was just a really long, straight axe. Like, this is curved. It was just straight. Nothing else to it. That's basically spears in a rundown. Just make big pointy stick. And a little history on the short sword. The Romans would use it to be behind their shield and poke out. They could also use a spear, but they would poke out like that, and they could still whip it around like that. Instead of having this big long sword when you're huddled up with your buddies, where you can, oh, sorry, Gerald, I'm so sorry, man. If only the Roman government could give me some shorter sword. Short sword, it's in the name. You could still poke, but you can also still slash. And of course it was one hand, so you could always have your shield, your great shield. Yeah, that's all I can think of. That's all the swords. Daggers, yes. Okay, since I haven't made a dagger somehow, let's take this as a dagger. Now, a dagger on itself could be used in assassinations. You could sneak up behind your enemy, instead of having this big longsword where I get up behind him and I have to. Now, once they notice you can't really do anything else because they have more reach. But instead, I can go, just stab them. But they could also accompany another weapon. Most likely a weapon that can be used in one hand. All the pole arms cannot be used in one hand. At least actually you can. But it's kind of inefficient. It could accompany a sword, so I can, also known as a parrying dagger. Okay, your sword's coming here. I can parry that, or get it in a lock, bind it, which it's called. I can fling away your blade, and I can finish you off with my other. That's the thing of dual wielding. Another misconception is dual wielding is just holding two swords. That's inefficient because you have a long sword and they kind of have to stick together. This is efficient because you can parry with the smaller one, which you don't need to attack with that much. And even if I get you with my thing, I can still run up and get you with the dagger. But you could poke, So, there's a rundown of all medieval European weapons. I just like swords. Never really been into axes, but. So anyway, I hope you all have a nice day. Goodbye.